Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I have a special guest today that you guys might remember from a recent video I did on the show. I have a guest here named Henry Amama. Is that
Yes,
correct? Okay, I said it right. And he is a three-time Trump voter. Is that right, Henry?
two time.
Two times. Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll get into all of that, but wanted to talk with Henry because he has his own channel called The Gab Father, and you guys can go over there, check out his videos. He has been making very heartfelt videos about his Trump regret and how he's feeling now about the new Trump administration. So welcome, Henry. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Yeah. I'm really excited to talk with you because it's not very often we get Trump voters who are willing to speak out publicly, first of all. And even those that are, it typically is only that they're regretful when something affects them personally.
Right.
And I think, I know for my viewers, that's frustrating. It's like, okay, you didn't care when he was hurting all these other people, but now all of a sudden it's affecting you and now you have a problem. That was not the case for you. And so I give you a ton of credit for even speaking out publicly, but also for just caring about other people. I in your videos, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the big turning point for you was the Renee Good shooting, and then followed by Alex Preddy.
Yeah, when I watch those, I am, as I've said in other videos, I'm a very pro-life guy, and that's cradle to grave, and when I see people
Mm,
getting killed that aren't doing anything wrong, that bothers me. And then I saw what was said afterward, and it didn't match. And I also believe in honesty, and
right.
I wasn't seeing it,
Yeah.
and consistently not seeing it for 2 weeks. I was like, wow.
So let me ask you this, because you mentioned now you're big on honesty. I am huge on honesty. Like when somebody lies to me, it's like all bets are off. I will never trust you again because
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just such a low thing to do. It's like, it's so easy to tell the truth. Um, how do you square your support for Trump with caring about honesty?
Well, prior to this year, I viewed both sides as kind of equally dishonest, and
Mm,
uh, and I touched on it in previous videos also, where both sides tend to just. I hear my own echo, by the way, but both sides. I hear my voice echoing on my headset.
oh, okay.
Okay,
I,
that was
I,
weird.
I turned down my volume, so maybe that might
Okay,
help.
well, so both sides market, to
Mm-hmm.
people, and they both have their talking points. And honestly, I knew there was some things that bothered me in Trump's first administration, especially towards the end with the COVID and with the George Floyd protests, how they handled that. And there were things that bothered me. But coming into this current term in the election process, I saw him reach across the aisle and pull in people like RFK and Tulsi Gabbard. Even I know she's Republican now, but she was a Democrat previously, and JD Vance seemed like a good Christian guy at the time, and Donald Trump even seemed to like he maybe had some more concern for how his relationship with God, and so I thought, well, maybe there's better things on the horizon for the second term than how he ended the first one. Maybe he's more concerned with his legacy than he was
Mm-hmm.
previously, and so I gave him the benefit of the doubt.
So let me ask you this. You said you voted for him twice.
Yeah.
Um, which elections did you vote for him?
Um, Obviously, the last election I voted for him,
Uh-huh.
and I voted for him the first election, also the
2016.
2016. Yeah, I just stopped thinking the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have you always been a Republican? Have you always been conservative? Is that?
I have. I grew up in a Christian household, and my parents were conservative, and my circles have mostly been conservative all my whole life. So it's just the environment I come out of.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you have any pause in supporting him, given his history of like cheating on all of his wives?
Yeah, that is a
Screwing
issue.
over business partners. Like,
I don't know about that. I do know I've been married once, and I only ever plan to be married once, and I'm a believer in that. And I know he's lived a different life than I would have lived, and I know he's been rewarded for it.
mm-hmm.
And I don't agree with a lot of that personally, but positionally, you kind of vote. I don't. Maybe I can say the same thing about Kamala Harris. Even there's things that I would not do that or want to be part of that she's been part of either. I know she's had a little bit of a past, and she's a bit of a question mark too. So, yeah, personally, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump's personal life. I agree, and I regret giving him the credit I did give him. Honestly, I do. I overlooked some of that, thinking, well, that was, again, maybe a younger Trump. Maybe he's wiser now. You like to think with age comes a little wisdom.
Yeah.
And I was mistaken. I was.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah. I guess, a lot of us on the left look at it and we go, well, a lot of the stuff he did that was so horrific was in his like 40s and 50s and 60s. So it's like, you get it when you're like a teenager or even in your 20s, or like I have a
Yeah.
theory that I think most people make the biggest mistakes in their 30s, because you're like, oh, I'm an adult. I'm adulting, I own a house. I have
Yeah.
a wife or a husband and kids, and, I got this all figured out. And then you get further on in life and you go, shit, I didn't know anything. My 30s, I was an idiot.
Yeah. I, and a lot of that, you're, I don't really know firsthand what he did in a lot of his younger years. I was busy with my own life. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And I can't, I know he's been bankrupt. I know he's done bad things. I know he's been through like 3 or 4 wives. Um, the whole Epstein thing is just a whole nother mess. I
yeah.
was not aware of that. Had that stuff been out previous to the election, that would have definitely swayed my vote also.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a,
I tried to get the word out.
I I know, but both sides tell you how horrible the other one is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then and so you get the back and forth with both sides that are both saying this other person is so terrible, and it gets to be kind of like the boy who cried wolf. It's like if you don't, if you don't dedicate the time to really go down and research the stuff like it's coming out now, you don't know.
Hmm.
You just know you have two sides that are saying, hey, this other person's terrible and the world is going to end if you vote for the other person. And that's kind of what campaigning's been lately. And it's a shame because nobody says, hey, it would be nice if they offered some value when they campaigned and said, hey, this is what I offer and this is what I believe in. And they just don't do that. Neither side does
Yeah.
that. And that's really a shame. I think that's got lost somewhere in the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah. Or, I mean, they do say that they care and that's what they stand for, but that's not really the truth. That's not what they ever step up and
Yeah.
do.
Well,
So,
they don't run on the value they offer you. They don't run on the campaigns like the speeches in this last election. The last few have been. And I know Donald Trump maybe has something to do with that, the way he operates in the speeches. But the other side doesn't really have, like Kamala Harris didn't really have specifics that really seemed to offer me value that in vision over that I can see where and I'll go back to like Donald Trump's first election, like that was against Hillary Clinton, and like Bernie Sanders, for example, he has a vision, right, and he articulates a vision. He offers value, and he doesn't have the
Hmm.
past that like Hillary Clinton had, you know, and so
No, but let me ask you, have you, so the way you view, let's say, like Kamala Harris and what her platform was, did you ever watch one of her speeches, or were you just basing it on what you were seeing on right-wing media?
no, I watched her, and I watched some of her speeches that she gave at some of the different areas, and I didn't know what I was watching, and some of that there was a bit of disingenuousness with her also, and
Yeah.
and if you go back to the accents for different audiences, and that was legit. I heard about it and I saw it and I heard it, and then she cracked a beer on one of the late night talk shows, trying to be a beer drinker like me or something, and relate to me. And I know she's not a beer drinker. It's like, what am I
Yeah.
getting? And then she doesn't have any, like, even Donald Trump, even though he did have bad relations with his wives, all his kids are still there with him, and he's got a family and he's got people around him that are at least sticking with him,
Do you
whether it's
think,
for
though, it's
money
the
or for,
money?
well, I get it. I get that. But one of the things that troubles me about Kamala Harris is, like, there is no family around her at all. It and I'm not. It's not against. And part of that is the her. She claimed to be African American, and I honestly don't believe that to be the case. I think she's Indian heritage.
She's
The
mixed. She's
well, the
her father was is black
Jamaican.
and her mother's
He's
Indian.
from Jamaica, but he's of Indian heritage also. Is what kind of the the press was on that. He basically, they were from like a sugarcane family in Jamaica, and he was a wealthy student at UC Berkeley also, that was being sent there with his family's money. And Kamala Harris was the same thing. Her grandfather was some high Indian official in the Indian government in India, and so her parents are both very. Neither one is working class. They're both very. They're privileged. They're at UC Berkeley doing foreign study funded by their family's wealth. And then when Kamala, her mother graduates, she ends up going to live in Canada, and she's raised mostly in Montreal area, I believe it was Kamala Harris. So he went to private schools up in Montreal and didn't come back to the U.S. until she was college age. So her background and mine are not the same. I don't relate. I had a hard time. I did study Kamala Harris. I looked at her. I tried to find out
But can
who
you
she was.
understand, from the left, we're looking at that and going, what do you have in common with Trump? Like,
Well,
the
and
guy
that
was, he
no,
literally was born with a platinum
I
spoon shoved up his ass. Like,
but that's what it comes down to. I'm saying both parties. I can't really relate to either candidate, and that's
I
so
mean,
that's
there's a difference between like growing up, more upper middle class or, somewhat
right.
privileged versus like Donald Trump has never had a job in his life.
I know,
Like he's
but
never worked a real job. His dad gave him $400 million to get started.
I
It's
and
like,
I know he's lived a life I can't relate to.
yeah,
I honestly I can't.
most people can't.
And but and that's where we come down to positions and tradition. I did think we needed to do a better job of securing the borders. There was a huge problem. You watch independent documentaries from the border, prior to the election, and it was bad down there. I mean, there's independent filmmakers down there that don't represent either party, and they're showing the people just coming across the border in mass, just dropping IDs and getting picked up and getting shipped off to who knows where in buses and planes, and going to hotels, getting cell phones and all this stuff. It's like, wow, they're doing it. The border was a terrible mess. Um, I'm not against immigrants, don't get me wrong, but I do think you do need to have you need to filter a little bit what's coming in your country, you know.
Oh yeah, we definitely need to know who's coming in. I mean,
Right. I mean,
because anybody could sneak in.
right.
You know,
My
I'm all
grandfather was an immigrant.
for immigrants and immigration,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it does scare me that you could have terrorists sneaking in with immigrants,
Yeah.
and you know, we do need to know. Um, so, what would you say is your primary, or has it changed your primary source of news and information?
I honestly, I watch. I mean, I guess it's evolving as time has gone on.
Hmm.
I'm mostly trying to find independent media sources now. Trying to a lot of independent media on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
Um, you know, I've seen Fox News, I've seen ABC, CNBC, I've seen a lot of news. Um, and I don't know. I've been accused of having my head buried into Fox News' sand, as I said. I think, and yeah, I've watched it. Are they part? I don't think I'm 100% partisan in my news. I think I've been as broad as probably broader than average.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel I've been broader than average on news.
Yeah, I would say, like, if you're open to recommendations, there's a show I watch or listen to every day called Breaking Points.
Okay.
And one of the hosts is a conservative. He voted for Trump. And then the other host is a progressive like me, who's like a Bernie supporter. And so, and they, find common ground. They argue over things when there's things to argue about, but
Yeah.
they're both very, very honest about each of their parties.
Yeah.
So that's why I like it, because I do like to get other perspectives. Like I seek out information if, like the whole Hunter Biden laptop thing. There was the whole narrative on the left that, oh, this is all fake, it's all fiction, it was made up, blah, blah, blah. And I started digging into it and looking into different aspects and found that no, actually, a lot of it was legit. Um, and, news outlets had to walk back some of what they were reporting when they tried to make it out like, oh, it's just a, Russian op. And so, yeah, I'm one of those people, maybe rare, who really just wants to know the truth. Like, I don't care if it's going to conflict with what I believe. I just want to know the truth, and I don't like being lied to even by my own side. It's like
Right.
it pisses me off. So,
Yeah, that's my biggest trigger. I mean, my kids will tell you. I they all know that my biggest trigger is lie to me, and
yeah.
that sets me off more than anything. That's
Hmm.
just
Yeah, my family too. They're like, just don't lie to her. Tell her
yeah,
the truth. She can
yeah. The
I can
best,
handle the truth.
yeah,
How no matter how good or bad it is,
yeah.
I'll
We
deal with it. But
for two people to have a conversation, they have to believe each other first of all,
yeah,
and I feel like if you're not going to be honest with me, there's no point in talking to me. You know,
right.
that's
Yeah.
kind of that's just
And I try to make that point to my
yeah,
audience too,
right,
because so often, and both sides do it, where it's like you just dig in and no, we're right, and anything you say about my side is wrong, and they just immediately dismiss anything without looking into the details and the facts, and automatically that shuts the other person down. I mean, if you
right,
can't admit where your side is going wrong, it's like the neighbor telling you to clean up your yard and they've got, trash and
right.
broken down
Yeah,
refrigerator and all kinds of stuff. And it's like, uh, yeah, I think that's why the show Breaking Points works so well, because they
okay.
are both very honest and they respect each other because of their honesty. So,
I'll have to check that out. I have not seen that.
yeah, I think
Oh,
you'll like it.
okay.
Um, and actually the conservative host is kind of a friend of JD Vance, and he's
Oh,
kind of having a little bit of an awakening himself, like
Yeah. I was a
not,
fan of his. I was until this
yeah,
year. I was a fan of his. I thought he was a straight up good dude. I really did. And
yeah.
that ship
Well,
had
I mean,
sailed.
he used to say he hated Trump. I mean, he was like a never Trumper and said that he was America's Hitler, I think was his quote.
Yeah.
And then because he wanted power, he just did like a total 180 and flipped on everything.
Yeah.
So it's not going to bode well for him, I don't think.
No,
From
I honestly think the Republican Party is going to get a smackdown in November. I
yeah,
don't see any way that there's not a reckoning coming on this. I,
yeah.
there's no way out of it.
Well, it's like I say, they're in a really tough position because you have that like 35% of the voting bloc that is hardcore MAGA. And if they go against Trump, those voters are going to turn on them. So they can't win their primary elections. And then, because they'll be painted as a rhino. But then if they, go along with Trump, it limits how well they're going to do in the general election because then independents and Democrats and the other portion of Republicans are going to go, no, you're just going along for the ride and you're not standing up to him and you're not following the Constitution. And so,
Yeah,
yeah,
and follow in just the fundamental freedoms have to be followed. That's a deal breaker for me. It really is.
yeah,
You have
yeah,
to
that
give
is a
people due
huge deal.
process. DHS, there's no way they shouldn't be doing their homework and making sure they get the right guy. I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard so many stories of them just pulling out people that are the wrong person, and treating them
Mm-hmm.
badly. I mean, it's
Yeah.
terrible. It's terrible. And there's no,
Yeah.
so I look up the Homeland Security Act that created DHS, and there's no accountability at all with DHS. Like their internal affairs is kind of just accountable to the secretary of the department.
Yeah.
There's like zero checks and balance on that all, and it's just bad legislation. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's that whole Homeland Security Act needs to be revised and have something some check put on that department so they're accountable for following due process, and there's something. I mean, I don't know what that is, but it's bad
Yeah.
legislation.
Unfortunately, I think with someone like Trump, who is used to pushing boundaries and pushing things as far as he can, seeing what he can get away with, it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. It has exposed the weaknesses in our system. It's
Yeah.
exposed the fact that, like, if you just have someone who thumbs their nose at the courts and says, yeah, I'm not going to do what you tell me to do, there's really nothing that you can do. Like, he's the president, and now the Supreme Court gave him almost complete immunity. So it's like, you know,
Well, there is a check in the Congress has the check, right, to impeach him. That would be the check, right?
yeah, I mean, they can impeach him, but then, removal in the
And
Senate
yeah, I
is
know, but
tough.
that there is a check there, and that's the part that's so.
But think about it. I mean, if
Yeah.
we play it out to its logical conclusion with the way he's behaved so far, let's say the Senate, by some miracle, they get 67 senators to pull the trigger and say, yes, we're going to remove him. He could still just say, oh, I'm not going.
Hmm.
Like,
Wow.
and then what do you do, right?
That
Because he's
wow.
installed all of these
Yeah.
loyalists in the
Yeah.
military, and he's got Pete Hegseth in there to protect him. And I mean, that's the thing. Our system really, when you get down to it, it relies on people who are honest, or people being honest, people having, compassion and empathy and principles and morals and ethics. And that's
Yeah.
not Trump. Like,
You're,
that's what
you're,
terrified me the most since
wow.
he first ran for office.
Yeah.
Because I had been on the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing before his first term. That's when I first learned of the whole Katie Johnson case. And I don't know if you saw my video about it, but I um, I'm a plant-based dieter and wrote a book and used to speak at events. So I kind of, I'm in that world. And I had gone to an event in December of 2016 after the Katie Johnson case against Trump had gotten dropped. And her attorney was there, Lisa Bloom. And I went up to her and I asked her about the case. And I said, hey, is there any chance she's going to bring the case again? And she said, no. She and her family were getting so many death threats that she is just terrified. So that's why she dropped the case. So I knew about it back then. I have a photo of myself marching in the 2017 Women's March that says the child rapist will never be my president.
Wow.
And I had a lot of people looking at me like, what are you talking? Like, nobody knew about it then.
No. Yeah.
People had no clue what I was talking about. They just thought I was being hyperbolic. But
That's another, one thing about the Epstein files is that that's been suppressed for a long time. So, and it goes back even through the Biden administration and that. How does that happen? I don't know.
yeah,
I mean,
because both sides are implicated. I
yeah,
mean,
that's,
it's the same reason why Trump had the files for 4 years before Biden and he didn't do anything with it.
yeah,
I ask people, well, okay, because I see a lot of Trump supporters online saying, oh, well, if they had, if any of this was true about Trump, they would have released it to stop him. I'm like, okay, well, then everything about Bill Clinton must be false then, right? Because Trump had it for 4 years before Biden, and surely he would have released it. So, I
yeah,
mean, you can't make that argument. It's just simple math. It's like mutual destruction. They
yeah.
knew.
It's
It's like Pam Bondi said at the hearing the other week. She said, if we start, we start taking people to court, we start prosecuting, blah, 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 the whole system is going to come down. That's the problem. Like, there's
yeah,
so much involvement from everybody.
yeah. I'm speechless. The stuff that you have read about in the last couple of weeks and heard about. I went on the DOJ website and I started doing the searches too, and I'm like, wow, it's
Yeah.
I just unbelievable. I mean, you hear about
It's
Epstein files, but you don't know what's in it until you see it. It's like, wow.
yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, I mean, there's been chatter, there's been rumors for many years, and I think what's really coming to a head, and everybody's starting to realize, is that Epstein was working on behalf of other governments and gathering compromising material in the form of videos of world leaders doing horrific things with children. And that's why we're still forking over billions of dollars every year to Israel, and why we are, constantly bending over and doing for this country and doing for that country and letting people get away with all kinds of shit. And it's Republican and Democratic
Yeah. So
lawmakers.
what is the way forward? That's my question.
Yeah.
How does this get fixed?
Unless we have someone who is willing to go in there and just like a wrecking ball, like for real, do what Trump promised and
Yeah,
honestly drain the swamp,
that's what was
unless
supposed to
we,
happen.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
unless we get a real like wrecking ball of a person, someone who doesn't give a
yeah,
shit, who isn't bought and paid for. This is why I'm so pissed at the Democrats for playing the games they did with Bernie Sanders, because he could have made this country so much better. He doesn't take money from corporate donors. He's not bought off by corporate interests and lobbyists, and he's been saying the same thing forever. He would have given everybody universal health care. paid family leave, child care taken care of. I mean, he would have helped Americans in a very material way. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people wouldn't have fallen victim to Trump because
I
their needs would have been met.
I honestly think both times Trump has won, the Democratic Party has put a bad candidate against him. Honestly,
Yeah, I agree with you.
and I think that there's some responsibility there also for selection against him.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely. Yeah.
Hillary's got a lot of. She's in the Epstein files too for her husband, and it's there's a lot there. You know, there a lot of us who've been around a long time remember Hillary from a long time ago, Bill and Hillary. So there's baggage
Her, who, Kamala's husband?
No, Hillary. I said a lot
Oh,
of us who've
Hillary.
been
Yeah.
around a long
Yeah.
time remember, they put Hillary up as a candidate against Trump in the first time, and that was
Yeah.
a lot of us
Yeah. I
knew too
bit the
much.
bullet. I bit the bullet and
Yeah,
I voted for her just
yeah,
because, I was a Bernie supporter, but I voted for her only because I knew about the child rape case against Trump, and I knew a whole bunch of
yeah,
other stuff, and
yeah,
how he had ripped off contractors. Like, one man even killed himself because he had a small business and he did all this work for Trump, fronted the cash, and then Trump refused to pay him at the last minute, which is just, that's the way he did business.
yeah.
And this poor man had nothing left and took his own life because of it. I mean, he destroyed so many small business owners that way. It's just he just has no conscience. And so I knew, like, yeah, I'm not a Hillary fan. I definitely don't like Bill. I thought he should have been removed from office after what he did. To me, it's like, and I've said this before on my show, you can't keep it in your pants for 4 years. Seriously? Like, if you don't have that much self control, then you should not be in control of the country. And
Yeah.
I've had people say to me on the left, oh, well, he got he got our economy under control and we had a surplus in our government. And it's like, I'm sorry, that's not worth it. It's not worth it to have someone with no morals or low morals and ethical issues. And I think that's how you end up with someone like Trump, because you slowly degrade the office of the presidency. We have to require more of our elected leaders in general, but especially someone who's going to lead the country. And then each side can point to the other side and go, well, you didn't say anything when this happened. Well, you were okay when this happened. And this is
That
why
doesn't
we're
get
in
us
this
anywhere.
situation we're
Yeah,
in.
that doesn't get anybody anywhere. That's
No. Yeah.
you know,
We each have to hold our own side accountable.
yeah,
And, I get shit from my audience sometimes. They'll say, why do you say this about Democrats? And why did you say that about Kamala or Biden or blah? First of all, because I'm an honest person, because I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to bullshit people. It's just not who I am. And I will never be that person. But second, because it's just like holding your children accountable, right? Like, you love your children with all your heart. You want them to succeed. You want them to achieve. And the only way you do that is by jerking a knot in their tail sometimes and telling them when they're off course and telling
yeah.
them, you're going down the wrong path. This is not the right way to do things. And I kind of look at it that way.
Hmm.
But, both sides have to do that. Both sides have to hold their own accountable. And unfortunately, there's just too much, like, everybody's siloed off. And, you
Yeah,
know,
that's everybody's. The comments from my videos that have been popular is everybody is either love me or hates me, hates me, hates me, and it's
yeah,
it's a little disheartening. But and a few people are like,
yeah,
hey, I respect you. So
yeah,
it's I don't know, it's tough.
yeah.
I look. I almost think I mean, how do we fix this? What's the way forward? I'm a solutions kind of guy. What's the way forward? You know what?
Yeah, I am too. I'm always the kind of person who's like, okay, there's nothing that's insurmountable. We just got to figure it out. We just got to
Right.
come up with a solution. I mean, the first thing is dealing with Donald Trump, like getting him
I
under control somehow.
I agree with that. That
And
he so much instability right now that has to be stabilized.
yeah,
It's unstable.
yeah. I mean, it's
And
just chaos right now.
yeah,
And, everybody was saying, or people on the right were saying that about Biden, that it felt chaotic. And I think that's why a lot of people voted for Trump. But now it's just ramped up to 11. It's
yeah,
like,
there's the economy, domestic policy, foreign policy, pick an area. Everything's chaos.
yeah,
Everything. There's nothing stable right now at all.
no. And it all seems to be driven by his ego and him wanting to slap his name on things and,
Yeah. I,
just trying to prove he's a tough guy. And
that's so, like, to me, it's like Thanksgiving, somewhere around Thanksgiving, like the Twitter stuff, and he went off the rails around Thanksgiving time, it seems like, from my memory. That's when the flags really went up for me. I was like, what's some of that stuff you hear about is Twitter? I don't really follow Twitter. I just hear about it secondhand.
yeah,
And it really became apparent around Thanksgiving time he was off the rails. And then it just kept getting worse and it's been worse. And I'm like, how can people not be seeing this? And how can there not be an outcry?
yeah,
I mean, even like the guys next to him, that they have to support him, but somebody's got to be right. I mean, somebody should be standing up by now saying, this dude, we got to
yeah.
fix this. I can't understand the Republicans not wanting to, just because thinking about November, why wouldn't they want to just put a stop to this? It's madness.
Yeah.
And
But it's like I said, I mean, if they go against him, then the voters are going to turn against them in the primary elections. So, because they have to
no,
win over the hardcore Republicans in the primary.
yeah,
They'll have more latitude when they get to the general, but they have to make it to the general first.
yeah,
And if they're in a purple district, if they're in a swing district, it's tough. Even the red
yeah,
districts. I mean, I don't know if you've been following it, but all of last year and even a couple at the beginning of this year, there were special elections and Democrats are just wildly outperforming.
yeah.
I mean, they're coming in double digits over what Kamala Harris did.
Nobody's going to sit on the sideline on this one. I mean, nobody. It's if
Well, I
I
am
don't
seeing
think.
a lot of Trump voters saying
Yeah.
that they're
Well,
going to sit out.
probably true, but nobody that opposes him is going to sit on the sideline anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, nobody's going to say, well, it doesn't matter.
right.
It doesn't matter crowd's going to be like, wow, this now it matters. So
Yeah. I don't know, you know, unless and until Republicans stop caring about their cushy jobs and keeping their paycheck and keeping their seats, it just, there's nothing to be done, really, unfortunately.
oh, that's scary.
Yeah,
It's scary. It is.
yeah,
I voted for it. I'm scared. I mean, I,
yeah.
I, I don't. I wish I would saw something that would tell me not to be. But
Now, let me ask you, what did you think of the whole January 6th thing and the whole attack on the Capitol? Did that concern you?
it did. I mean that it did. That was that whole year was a mess. Honestly, you know what I mean. That was this peak COVID. That
Yeah,
there was nothing good going on then, and people were, I had a lot of free time, and I don't know. It was concerning, and I heard what Trump said, and he did call for action. I couldn't understand how it happened sitting on the sideline from where I'm at. I wasn't there.
mhm.
Um,
Did you
I don't
watch
under.
the January 6th Select Committee hearings?
I've watched some of that, but it's been long enough. I don't remember a lot of it. You
Okay.
know what I mean? It's kind of like some of that gets partisan, and you kind of, I don't know. probably you probably have something to point out that I missed, I'm sure, and
Well,
I'm
yeah, I
happy
mean,
to hear it.
I covered
So
them,
yeah,
very closely and watched every second, but
yeah,
couple things that really stood out was all of the witnesses, with the exception of maybe one or two, were all his people. So they were all people that he put in his cabinet. It was his White House counsel, his all of his officials that spoke at the hearings. And the main thing was that he knew people had weapons before he took the stage and gave his speech telling everybody to fight like hell. Um, he specifically told them to take the magnetometers down because, and they were warning him, they're like, because, Trump is, he was all upset because there weren't a bunch of people right in front of the stage. It was like kind of a sparse crowd. And it was because it was the closed off area and the people had to go through the magnetometers. And if they had anything metal on them, it would get taken away. So a lot of people were choosing not to go into that area. And Trump told his people, I don't care, take the magnetometers down. They're not here to hurt me. So, they warned him, and they also played in the hearings police chatter. So they had the recordings of all of the Secret Service and the Capitol Police talking to each other. And you heard them saying, hey, we got a guy up in the tree. He's got a long gun. I got a guy down on the ground. He's walking around with what looks like an AR-15. I got this guy carrying a bat. I mean, he was made aware ahead of time that these people brought weapons. And that comment to me, it just stuck with me because that told me that he knew they were there with weapons and they weren't for him. And so he didn't even care to say, wow, who are they here to hurt? Or he knew and didn't give a damn,
yeah,
And I think the other thing that really stood out in those hearings was that he didn't do anything when they were attacking the police. Everybody was going to him, and his own people told the committee this and said, I went to him, I told him, sir, they're attacking the police, they're breaking into the Capitol, blah, blah, blah. One of them told him, they're chanting hang Mike Pence, and his response was, so what? He said, so what? Maybe he deserves it. So, even if if we give him the benefit of the doubt and we say, he couldn't have known that people were going to attack the Capitol. He didn't plan for this. This wasn't his intention. After he knew that it was under attack, he still did nothing. Like he refused to
yeah,
call and tell the National Guard to deploy and to stop it. It was Mike Pence that ended up having to call the military and say, you got to get people over here.
and that's I remember that weakness from his first term, even with the George Floyd riots. He couldn't say one nice thing conciliatory to like. I know he could have made that situation better too if he'd have just said, "Yeah, it's a shame that guy got killed." If he'd have just
Yeah.
said something like that, that would have been a huge difference in that riot situation.
Yeah.
Um, he just can't, and we see it now. He can't. He just can't bring himself to say something conciliatory to anybody. And that's one of the things that really stands out now. I was like, wow, that's
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
I mean, just like with Charlottesville,
and I
and
and I remember that more now than I did probably in November of 24. It kind
yeah.
of comes back to you when you start seeing him again every day. It's like, wow, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I kind of likened it, when people are like, oh my God, how could people vote for him again, especially after January 6th? And I was like, it's kind of like when you break up with someone and you don't see them for a long time and then you forget why you broke up with them. And then,
yeah,
you know,
you're right. I mean, you're right. Time 4 years goes by, and then you see a lot of other things, and you get busy with life, and some of those details fade. You know,
Yeah. And you only remember the good stuff, and then you start spending time with them again. You're
and
like,
they're saying things you want
oh,
to hear, and they're talking nice to you.
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, they're
And then you're
coming
like, oh,
around.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
why I broke up with
exactly.
you, because you're an
Yeah,
asshole.
well, yeah. But sometimes you gotta go back out a couple times before you remember, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here we are. That's a good analogy,
Yeah.
actually.
It's that,
Yeah.
and two, I think, he won a lot of young voters. And I've made this argument with my audience as well that, if you are, let's say, an 18-year-old who voted for Trump in 2024, maybe it's, that's your first vote ever, you were a child when he first took office. That was
Yeah.
8 years prior. I mean, you were 10 years old. You're not paying attention to politics. And
Right.
even if you heard some stuff, it's like it's on the periphery, you're not living it, you're not experiencing it the way adults do. So,
Yeah.
I get why a lot of younger people went for it. And they had, he was on Rogan, he was on Andrew Schulz, he was on Theo Von's show. All of the young people watch those shows and they trust them. And so when these guys said, "Hey, yeah, I think I'm going to go for Trump. I'm going to endorse him." I think it held a lot of sway with that demographic. Especially young men, not so much the young women, but if I could have my
Right.
dream candidate, it would be someone who's again going to give us some sort of universal health care. And I know, some people on the right get scared by that, but I have extended family in Japan, and I can tell you it is the best health care you could ever hope for. Their grandfather was in the hospital, I'm not exaggerating, for over 2 years before he died. And not because he was ill, but because he had some sort of medical condition, but his wife had dementia. And they were like, okay, well, she obviously isn't going to be able to care for you, so you can just stay here. Didn't cost the family a dime,
Yeah.
And everybody goes, oh, yeah, but you pay more taxes. I'm like, okay, well, right now, I'm paying like $2,000 a month for health insurance because I'm self employed,
Yeah.
for just me and my husband. So it's like, it's not going to be 2,000 a month in extra taxes. So,
Yeah. And I've just spent this weekend working on my taxes, and yeah, pay less taxes is kind of a funny thing. And I
yeah.
have insurance through my employer, and I still pay. I still pay over $1,000 a month in premiums with my employer's insurance. And then I
Yeah,
got out
because
of pocket. It's
employers
like
don't want to
there's
pay
no,
anymore.
yeah. It's crazy that our insurance is tied to our jobs. That's
Yeah,
it's the only insurance I have that's tied to my job.
yeah, yeah.
It's
And there's
insane.
tons of people who are small business owners or self-employed or 1099 employees who don't, are working part-time. And, there's so many businesses that purposely don't give employees enough hours
Yeah.
so that they don't have to give them insurance. And, all those people, it's like, what do you do? I mean, Obamacare's far from perfect, but the one
Right.
thing it did do was it got rid of pre-existing condition exclusions,
Yeah.
you
And I
know?
and I do think that was necessary. I agree. I mean, I agree with that. And
Yeah.
I also oh, lost my train of thought here for a second. Oh well, it happens. Too many
So,
trains.
yeah, no, I hear you. So, is there anybody on the
Oh, I
left
oh
who,
I do have my train back. I was gonna
oh,
say one thing that puzzles me about the Republicans is why would they want every business to have to worry about insurance? I mean, it's a cost, right? It's like
yeah.
my employer has people that work there just to cover benefits and negotiate benefits, manage benefits.
Mm-hmm.
It's like why put that kind of compliance burdens on companies? How did we get
Yeah.
there? It's that's a business cost too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just a sidebar point I've always wondered myself.
Yeah, well,
So
it's because, again, they're all owned by the insurance companies.
yeah,
You know, they've got lobbyists from all the major insurance companies, and they go and they kiss up to the lawmakers and fund PACs for them and, you know, dangle all kinds of goodies. And then you've got the revolving door, too, where a lot of them, when they're not in public office, that's where they go. They go to work for a lot of these companies. So they don't want to piss anybody off just in case, you know?
yeah. My thoughts are that if a candidate got up and said, "We at least want to cover major medical for everybody," you know, just catastrophic here at a minimum, something
Yeah,
that would probably sell. That would be wildly popular.
yeah.
Maybe not every whim somebody wants or elective surgery or something, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, if somebody could lay out a plan where people got wouldn't have to about going bankrupt or you know, and had some kind of I think that would be wildly popular.
Yeah, it would. And that's why it was with Bernie.
Yeah,
Um, but unfortunately, then you have the major parties who try to take those people down
yeah,
because they're going to disrupt, you know, people like Bernie disrupt the status quo. That's why I laugh when people say, oh, you know, Bernie he's never gotten any legislation passed. You know, he's been in the Congress for how long and never passed any meaningful legislation. I'm like, why do you think that is? Because it's actually going to help us average
yeah,
Americans. And it's, you know, probably not corporate friendly. So, of course, he doesn't have a majority to go along with him and sign on to it and vote for it
yeah.
because all the rest of them are bought and paid for. So,
So can we get a party that just sticks to core issues like that and has practical solutions? Is there a
is
party
there?
that can do that for us, like a
I
political
know.
party? You know, that's it's kind of what we're
I,
talking about here. Is we need a
I
party
wish
that'll.
we could start a new party. I wish it would work. I mean, it just sucks. Or I wish we had ranked choice voting like other countries. You know, it weeds out a lot of nefarious people.
What is ranked choice voting?
So it's kind of like what they do in Iowa when they caucus. So instead of just having, you know, Republican or Democrat to pick from, and you can only pick one, you rank, I think it's like your top three choices. So if your number one choice doesn't get enough votes, then the next person who does get enough votes, you know, if you happen to vote for that person, your vote would count towards that person's election. So, like in the primary season, they do that in Iowa. So people rank their top, I think it's the top three, and you know, if there's just not enough support for the person you voted for number one, then they go, okay, well, you know, let's look at the number two choice. And then if that person has enough support, then that's the person who wins.
Hmm.
So it works great in Europe. And, you know, they have many, many different political groups,
Hmm.
you know, and they're not bought and paid for. I mean, they cap, which I think we should do here as well. They cap the amount of money that you can spend on your campaigns. So you don't end up with this major disparity. And it's much easier for average people to run, you know, because you think about it, if somebody wants to run for president, you have to campaign and you have to advertise across the entire country. So you have to take in a shit ton of money. And that's why
Yeah,
people look to corporate interests and PACs. So if you have, like in Europe, where they not only they cap the money, but they also they limit the amount of time that candidates can go out and, you know, try to gin up votes. Like they limit the campaign season. So instead of like ours, where it's like, you know, 2 to 4 years of campaigning, I think theirs is like 90 days or something, or 6 months. It's like a short window of time that you have to campaign. So it really, I think, allows more average, normal Republicans and Democrats or whomever, whatever political party candidates to get in the mix. And, you don't end up with only the elites, only the wealthy people, only the well-connected. So much more democratic system.
Well, I'm sure everybody would like shorter campaigns.
Yeah.
That would also be popular.
Yeah. Just the ads alone. I mean, I get so sick of them. It's like, ugh. And now they hit you up with the text messages too. And it's like, Jesus, leave me alone.
Yeah, shouldn't you be doing something to govern? I mean, instead of making ads.
Yeah. So is there any Democratic candidate that you've seen, or Democratic lawmaker, or anybody out there in the world who you were like, meh, I would maybe go for that person?
Right now I don't have anybody in mind right now what on my radar for November.
Yeah.
I don't. I've been looking at, my state's got a governor race.
What state
I'm looking
are
at
you
those. I'm in Michigan.
Oh, okay.
And so we're a swing state.
Mm-hmm.
And we got our governor's term moving out here this year, and we're going to get a new one. So there's a lot of candidates there. So I don't have a definite opinion on it, who I want to vote for in this one yet. I know I'm not going to vote Republican in this midterm at all. I'm done. I'm going to take a breather on that one. So I'm going to take a breather, because I think the Republicans need to get, for not standing up, they need to get their butt handed to them.
Yeah.
They just need to, for not standing up, because this is, if you got eyes and you're human, you should react to what's happening.
Yeah.
And if you can't, then you don't need to be there. So.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any of the candidates in my state come out and say that's terrible. They're all kind of toeing the line, saying the same things that the elected people are. And I'm like, you guys, and they're missing the boat. Yeah. All the candidates for governor in Michigan on the Republican side, they're out. Yeah. And I even put a couple of their social media posts. I'm like, hey, if you can't give us an honest assessment of what you saw, then don't even talk to me. This is, we need honesty to start our conversation. I put that on on some of the Facebook pages for a couple of them.
Oh, good.
And got some hate for it, but that's the way I feel about it.
You know what, though? It'll give other people, it'll give them courage to do the same.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get slammed, by some people, but there's going to be some other people who they probably won't speak up when they see you being slammed, because they don't want to be slammed themselves. Yeah. But it'll give them some courage to go, okay, I'm not the only one who sees it this way.
I have nothing to lose. I mean, words are not going to hurt me.
Yeah.
So that's why I look at it. And anybody out there who, it's just words. If somebody slams you and calls you mean names, it's just words.
Yeah.
You got to do what you believe is right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe somebody like Ro Khanna will run for president. I think that he's very progressive, so he has a lot of the same policy positions as Bernie, as far as like universal health care and things like that. And I think he's really proven himself with this whole Epstein thing.
Yeah. He's been very vocal, which is nice.
Yeah.
Thomas Massey and him are the two standout guys. And Rand Paul even been calling people out on some stuff too. I've caught a little bit of that, and it's like, cool. There's like 3 names, but where's the other 532? That's my question.
Yeah.
So
I even, I'm not a big fan, but I even give credit to Marjorie Taylor Greene for sticking up for everybody and doing what's right. So, she's still got some few little kooky ideas, but
well, you got to applaud people to do the right thing, though.
As I mean, she can have some of her conspiracy theories as long as she she does what's right and stands
Yeah.
by these women who were just horrifically abused as children. So I respect her for that. A couple of things I wanted to ask you about. In one of your videos, you mentioned, actually, I think it was one that I shared, you mentioned that you would vote for a Democratic candidate that would allow you to pray in the streets.
Yeah.
Is that something that you think Democrats are
You
trying to
know,
stop? Like, I was kind of
there's
shocked to
been,
hear that.
no, there's been like, one of the things I've done in my past is I was a football coach, and there's been coaches that have been fired and stuff for praying on the field with their team. There's been a lot of there's been things, and even now, if you watch some of the commentary and some of the out here in the independent media, and that there's people out there that are just flat out calling Christians lunatics. You know what I mean? And I'm a Christian guy, and there's a lot of pushback against being a Christian out there. And Donald Trump is not helping that at all right now. He's not doing any good. Him and that crew is not doing us any favors out here.
Yeah.
And it's there's definite pushback against some Christianity, and I do, and I would like to. I'm not trying to force it on anybody, but I also don't like to see where it's restricted and publicly, spoken out against like that. I'm not trying to restrict anybody's religion. I just ask for the same.
Yeah.
So
I very much believe in freedom of speech, liberty in all
yeah,
ways. I think, I don't believe in limiting speech in any way unless it is violent, unless it's, specifically targeting someone and creating a violent situation. And I think there's a fine line there because I do even believe that, like, even though I hate them, I believe that white supremacists and neo-Nazis should be able to say what they want to say, because it ends up being a slippery slope when you start quashing people's freedom. And depending who's in charge, it can come for all of us at some point. For me, it's like, as long as you're a good person, you don't hurt other people, you take care of other people, you are honest, you don't lie, you don't cheat, you don't steal, you just live life in the best way you can, do no harm, and try to do as much good as possible. That to me that's enough.
yeah,
So, and there was a time that I went to church, and I have to say I stopped going because I found out that, they were secretly kind of bigots. I was like, okay, no, not doing this.
yeah. Fortunately, yeah, bigots are everywhere, churches and not in churches, and yeah.
Yeah. The
My
problem is,
dad. I'm gonna tell you a story.
uh,
My famous quote from my dad, and he used to say that there's no worse people than church people, and he went
mm,
to church his whole life. So, but he told me that, like, he
yeah.
just there was a
The problem I have
yeah,
with it is the hypocrisy.
yeah,
Because, like, don't preach to me, don't tell me to be a good person, don't thump the Bible, don't preach to me about the Bible and God and this and that, and then you're hateful towards other people, either based
yeah,
on their color or their
yeah.
sexuality, or that to
No,
me is like lying
well,
and hypocrisy. Those are the two things that enrage me,
yeah,
and bigotry. Like, I always say I'm not a bigot against anyone other than bigots.
it, and this is, and I want to say that anybody who claims to be Christian and is actually bigoted against somebody based on how they like the color of their skin or where they're born. I mean, they're literally hating somebody for what God did, what God made.
Hmm.
They're hating God's creation,
Yeah,
and that's how I feel about it. It's like you can't hate somebody based on where God put them. And literally, and He made him the color He made him.
yeah,
How could you call yourself Christian and then hate somebody because
yeah,
they look like God made them. That
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. I
But
actually, I spoke with my maid of honor recently. She lives out in Tennessee, so we don't see each other very often or speak as much as I'd like to. But she's very religious. Her husband is a minister, and she was, saying something about her sister is queer, and she like tries to, preach to her and talk to her about it and stuff. And I said, well, you know me, I believe that, if God made everybody, God doesn't make mistakes. So,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Well,
I
behavior, and I'm not condemning anybody for what they're doing, but there are, and that's some of what I believe is I believe there are right and wrong behaviors, and I know that there's differences of opinion on whether it's behavior or whether it's birth on some of that stuff.
I
But
just,
I have
well,
wrong behaviors too. I'm not condemning anybody saying they can't go to heaven with bad behavior because I have things I'm working on fixing too. It's not.
yeah, I don't.
Um,
I don't see it as a choice. I know that
yeah,
that is something that religious people say,
yeah,
oh, it's a choice. But to me, it's like, okay, and I ask people this, when did you make that choice? Like, how
yeah.
old were you when you decided to be heterosexual?
I would guess when I started dating. You know what I mean? That's
But
that's
but I
that's
mean,
where you
you
make the choice.
knew,
When you
but
engage with people romantically, you in my younger years, I was not, and I remember
but
I
was
grew
it
up.
a choice? Like, were you attracted to men and you said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go out with women?
Not that I remember at all. No, I mean, so
Right.
like,
So, I mean, that's the
yeah,
thing.
it's just
I have
there's a
many
time.
gay friends
Yeah,
and I've asked them like when did you know? And they're like as far back as I can remember. Like they had
uh,
friends in elementary school and they just knew they were different and they knew that
mm,
they like their friends were talking about the girls and they were like we're not attracted to the girls whatsoever.
mm.
So, to me it's like if it's a choice then it would you would have those warring, competing thoughts in your head of like, oh, I really want this, but I know I shouldn't, so I'm going to do this instead, you know?
Well, yeah, interesting. I'm thinking about that right now. You got
Yeah, I
me
mean,
thinking a
like
little bit. So
one of my oldest friends, like I've known
that
him
was a
since
few years
elementary
ago.
school. What was
Yeah,
that?
that was a few years ago for me. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
one of my oldest friends who I've known since elementary school, we talked about it, and he and his older brother are gay. His younger brother is not. Um, so to me, it's like it kind of tells you there's something biological going on there when you got two of the older kids in the family, two older men, or two older boys, both gay. But yeah, he said like I knew in elementary school, like I would hang out with my male friends, and I just like yeah, I found some of them attractive, and I just knew it from the time I was little.
hmm.
So,
I would be curious about their father figure in that scenario and stuff, how they grew up and the environment they came out of. I think environment plays into a lot of that, and I don't know. That's the question that
yeah,
goes in
but
my mind.
then, I mean, again, look at it. You've got two that are gay and one that isn't.
Yeah,
So it's like,
yeah,
like, and I
that's
have another friend who's a twin, and he and his twin are both gay.
huh.
But then they have another brother who is not.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. I don't understand. There's a lot of things I don't understand in life, and I can't. The
yeah,
decisions people make, I don't understand a lot of times, and
yeah.
we're at one of them right now.
Like, I know, the hot topic, the big issue is transgenderism.
Yeah.
And, again, I have a cousin who is older than me. And when she was having her second daughter, she was kind of old for, having a baby. I want to say she was like in her early 40s at that time. So they ran some extra tests on her. and, just to make sure the baby was going to be okay and healthy. And then, because I think her husband was quite a bit older than her, so he was like in his late 40s, early 50s. So they wanted to make sure everything was okay. And we knew before she was born that she was going to be transgender, because she had, when they did the ultrasound, they said she's going to be a girl. She had the genitalia of a girl. But when they did, I don't remember if it was the amniocentesis or what they did, she had the XY chromosomes.
Hmm.
And my cousin was just beside herself, because she's like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to raise her? She has male chromosomes, but she has the genitalia of a female. And I was like, I didn't know what to tell her. I mean, it's not something I had ever come across, but, I just wonder how many other transgender people out there have that same situation, and they don't, they've never been tested, so they don't even know.
I've never known of a case like that at all. That I've I've known two transgender people in my life. I worked with one, and one was lived down the road from me. So I've experienced with two transgender people personally.
Hmm.
Both were males that were deciding that they were females after they grew up as males. Um,
Yeah. I
and,
just think,
and I understand, and the issue for me, and I said this in my video too, is when they go in the bathrooms, it's this, and maybe I should have said, if you have a penis, you don't belong in a woman's bathroom. That'd be kind of my rule, that I probably should have said it that way. I think there should be like a penis bathroom and a penis-free bathroom if you're going to have just two bathrooms. That might be a better way to delineate it.
it's a tough topic. I understand parents wanting to keep their children safe, of course. I mean, I'm a mother, so,
yeah. Well, the whole sports
absolutely
thing,
we want to keep our kids safe.
there's a sports issue too, like women's sports. You watch that Olympic boxer that was beating up all the other women boxers, and there's a big controversy about him having X and Y chromosomes, and whether or not what he was, and there was a big controversy about that. And then you see high school sports where there's like swimming and track and field where there's biologically male competitors dominating female competitors in the high school sports, and it's like, why? If you have the genetics of a male, why would you be competing in a girl? The whole idea behind the girl sports is that the males have a slight physical advantage, and that
Right.
to make a fair playing field, to give them the chance to be champions, and I don't want to say that in a harsh way, but I mean just to recognize the reality that there's the male has a slight edge, and
Yeah. It's such a tough, it's a tough subject, because
yeah,
on one hand, and I fall into this camp of wanting people to wait. Like, if you truly believe, and you feel like you are another sex, you feel like, for whatever reason, if you're born with those chromosomes, and you feel that you are transgender and you want to transition, and I've said this on my show before, I think, they maybe should wait until the frontal cortex of their brain has fully developed and they can understand the consequences of their actions before they do something. But then again, you say, okay, when it comes to like sports and stuff, like, I'm okay with kids competing against each other, different genders, like in elementary school, because there's not that big of an advantage. Like, I was always way faster than the boys in elementary school.
yeah,
Like, I could like beat their asses off when we were in a running contest. But yeah, as you get older, and especially as females go through, changes with their bodies and menstrual cycles, we change, like the way we run, the way our feet strike. There's all kinds of things that put us at a disadvantage. And that's just biology. That's just a fact, so that's when it starts to get like, yeah, girls would be at a disadvantage against a male competitor or a transgender female, you know? Um, so it's like, what do you do? Because if you do give them the hormone blockers, then they won't be at a disadvantage. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there's another case too. I just heard of like 2 weeks ago, probably, and it was high school wrestling. It's wrestling season now, and the girls have their own wrestling now, high school wrestling, and there
Hmm.
was a male competing as a female in this high school wrestling match just a couple weeks ago, and it made the news because after the match, the girl that lost the match, she's like 17, she tapped out because basically the guy was attacking her vagina. It, well, he's wrestling her between her legs, with his fingers,
Oh,
and
geez.
she basically surrendered the match just to get out of the situation, and he won the
Oh,
match. But here you have a boy with a penis competing in girl sports and
yeah.
literally attacking this girl's vagina in a competition. It,
Yeah. No,
and it's
that's
just
not
like
right.
this is the kind of stuff that you just you just can't hide it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so
It,
that needs to be an issue when this stuff really happens and people like me hear about it, and then you see the people supporting transgender like they're perfectly, like it's just natural. It's just like
it's tough because
it doesn't reconcile. It just doesn't
yeah.
reconcile. And the gentleman I work with who was transitioned to be female, he showed up on the job and he he had growing breasts and he was makeup and fingernails done and all that, but he was still clearly a man, and I still remember the day he showed up on this construction site, and to everybody on the site, male and female both, are like, what is it? It was a sight to behold. It was not, and that was just the natural reaction of everybody. Not,
Yeah.
and I worked with the person. We had overlapping stuff we worked on together for 6 months. And we
Mm,
got through and we did it, respectfully and everything. But it was just creepy. It's just the natural reaction. It's just like he's literally getting up every day and telling God he was wrong, that he should be a woman, in my mind. It's like he's waking up and making himself up every day. I can clearly see he's a man, and every day he's pretending he's not. And it's just like, I don't understand how that's,
well,
you
I
know,
mean,
I,
that's why I
I
say
believe,
it's a nuanced
yeah,
conversation. Because,
yeah,
like, can you imagine if
yeah,
he is someone like my cousin's daughter who
yeah,
maybe has the genitalia of a male, but he was maybe
yeah.
born with an XX, you know?
Well, he was divorced and had children, in his previous, before he transitioned. So, in talking with the person, that's, I got a little history, and I'm like, wow, this clearly he was, I don't know. I didn't get to that detail about
Mm.
genitalia, but I did
Well,
get,
but I mean, a lot of people do that, just like a lot of gay people used to do that
yeah,
or still do it, because they
yeah,
just don't feel accepted by society or their
yeah,
family or, what have you. And so they kind of push that side of themselves down and deny what they're feeling, which is why there's a very high suicidal rate among
yeah,
transgender people because they don't feel like, you know, they can just be who they are. But I mean, that's why I say, people need to practice more compassion because you
yeah,
really, unless you walked in someone else's shoes, you don't
yeah,
know what they feel or what they're going through. And then someone who's just starting to transition, yeah, they're still going to look like a man or they're still going to look like a woman. And it takes a while, for the hormones to kick in to make that full transition. Um, but I mean, there's female transgender people out there who you would never in a million years know it was a man, you
it,
know?
and that's ultimately, yeah, it's like, I get that. If they're fully transitioned and you can't tell, then you can't tell,
Mm,
um, I get that. But
yeah.
And
Yeah. I mean,
if he sold out 100% and got his penis cut off, I'm okay with him using the girl's bathroom even. That's the I hate to be so blunt about it, but this is like, I've been a male for a long time, and I think if you have a penis, you don't belong in women's restroom. You know what I mean? With my
yeah.
daughters. That's just
Well, and
there's just
I
too
think,
much risk. There's too much
some
risk.
of it is financial too. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like it's a cheap
Yeah.
surgery, you know. It's
No.
not like
I know,
every
but there's a gray area that people are not comfortable with when they see, like, yeah, I can see you're struggling with your identity, but I know you still have a penis, and I don't want you competing against my daughter in sports, and I don't want you in the same locker room with her when she's changing after the swim meet. You know what I mean? I can see you have a penis. You don't belong there. And, that's just,
Mhm.
I hate to be so blunt, but that's just a natural reaction that I don't think should go away. And I think it should be understandable that people feel this way when they see it. And if you go out in the real world and you go to these places like I'm at, and you see people's natural reaction, they look and go, "Wow, that guy's, he's not a woman," and there's some reservations automatically. I- It's
I understand
yeah,
people feeling that way. I guess, I always try to put
yeah,
myself
yeah,
in the other person's shoes and
yeah.
go, I mean, can
And I
you
worked with them.
imagine,
Yeah, I
you
worked with
know,
the guy successfully for like 6 months. And I never had a mean word with him. We got along fine. We did our jobs. I didn't carry on a friendship with him afterward because his interests are different than mine, and my beliefs are different than his
mm,
on this subject. Nothing was. Yeah, he's struggling, but
yeah. I mean, I guess in saying, trying to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, like imagine if you looked down right now and you had female breasts.
yeah,
How bizarre would that be to you?
that
I
would be a
mean,
struggle. I get it. That if that's
yeah.
the situation where you have both genitalia, that I don't know what to tell you on that. I don't. That's You would have to probably choose one or the other and go with it. I, that in that case, yeah,
But I
I don't.
mean, but I guess what I'm saying is like in their mind, or, from how they feel, like my cousin's daughter,
Yeah,
she may have the breasts of a woman, she may have, female genitalia, but her chromosomes are telling her you're a man, you
yeah,
know?
that's
So she looks down and she sees breasts and she's like, these don't belong to me. Like, this doesn't feel
I
natural or normal.
that I didn't know that was possible. Let's put it that way. I've
Yeah.
never actually
I
witnessed
don't
that.
know if this is like a common thing. I don't know if this is, this is what all transgender people have, or, but I just know that that was something we knew before she was even born. So, my cousin's approach was like, I'm going to raise her as a girl because she has, the genitalia and breasts of a female.
Yeah,
And then I'm just going to, let her live however she wants to live. And, as she's gotten older, yeah, she's like, yeah, I don't feel comfortable, as a
hmm.
woman. I just don't feel like a woman.
I mean, if the genetic testing backs it up, I guess it backs it
Yeah.
up, and that's you know the
Yeah. I just, to me, it's like how many other people are walking around out there like that, transgender people who just have never been tested. And so we don't know, and
yeah.
that's what they're going through. That's their experience, is like they look down and they see things on their body that like are
So with
foreign to them,
all the genetic testing that happens nowadays, I've had a couple of my kids tested for chromosomal abnormalities because of some of the things they've experienced in life.
Yeah.
So I imagine that's got to be something that's being studied. I would think. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
is it?
Well, I know there was a study that did say that there was a genetic component to it. And I think it was by Harvard, if I'm not mistaken. But it's been a while since I looked at it, so I don't remember all the particulars. But yeah, it
Yeah.
just, to me, I try to err on the side of compassion for people, of just saying, like, I, but for the grace of
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
go I,
Yeah. I know. I get that.
I don't have to live
100%.
that way. I've always known I'm a woman. I have the body of a woman. And so I don't ever have to struggle with anything like that.
Yeah.
But, to feel that you're trapped in a body that you don't, is foreign to you,
Yeah.
it's got to be hard.
Yeah, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I mean, I wouldn't, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
there's no 100%
So,
rule for anything. That's the thing about life is there's no, I can say there's an absolute, but there's always an exception, to
yeah.
everything. That's just how I've learned that in life.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, to me, as long as you're not hurting anyone,
Yeah.
as long as, not
Yeah.
being hateful towards others or doing things wrong or yeah,
Yeah.
like
That's, yeah.
you be you, I'll be me.
And I get that too. There's a legitimate question about how much should the government be legislating in people's lives and how much they shouldn't be. And that's,
Yeah.
we're getting to the area now where maybe they shouldn't be. Um, and that's part of my take is like, if you're laws, the government really should be is keeping people from hurting each other, you know, and that's
Hmm.
part of why I would favor like, you know, keep the penis-free bathrooms just because that keeps people from hurting each other, limits the chance. Not that I'm against anybody or trying to prejudice myself anybody. It's just that I want to minimize risk. And I've seen people abuse laws and rules, and for their own gain, and just
Hmm.
like that wrestler I talked about, he's obviously got his own agenda out there, probably
Hmm.
abusing the system. He's abusing the laws for his own gain. And if you eliminate that opening, then you eliminate that possibility for him to do that, and that makes it safer for everybody. And
Yeah.
that's kind of my take on it. I'm not hating anybody. I just want to
Mm.
eliminate the abuses and the avenue for abuse.
Yeah. And I think that's what the left has a tough time understanding or accepting. Like, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if there was a transgender female, so someone who, was born a man, transitioning to a woman, and they just hadn't had the surgery yet because they couldn't afford it, but they felt like a woman, you know, were attracted to men. I think, you would be okay with that person being around females because they're not a threat. They're not attracted to women. They're not there to hurt a woman. They feel like a woman. They feel, a kinship with other women. But I think a lot on the right and even some people on the left are concerned about someone using it as an excuse to get into a female space,
What would
you
Donald
know.
Trump do if he was, with his rule?
Yeah.
That's my question. You got to look at worst case scenario. What if Donald Trump was, decided he wanted to, like think of what he would do with that. That's
Yeah.
kind of where, it's like,
Yeah. Or what he has
well,
done.
and that's like tariffs. When you look at the tariffs, he he's exploiting legislation that the Constitution says, and that's I read some of the opinion of the Supreme Court on this tariff issue, and they're basically saying that Congress has the power to levy tariffs, taxes and impose duty on people.
Hmm.
That's the majority opinion is that that's Congress's job.
Right.
But Donald Trump was
It's
able
in
to
the
do that.
Constitution.
Right, it is.
Yeah.
But they've also given it to the president through legislation. So this IEPA is legislation Congress where they've handed the president the power to do that. In this new one that he has for 150 days or whatever it is all he has the ability to do that because legislation in the 1970s said you can impose this tariff for 150 days. So they've abdicated some of that to the president through legislation.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
like they
Well,
made
under
the
the
opening.
IEPA,
Yeah,
as I understand it, under the IEPA law, it was only in case of emergency.
yeah.
Like
But they still
if we
gave him
were under
powers he shouldn't
attack
have.
or
Yeah.
what was that?
Congress still gave the president powers that the Constitution delegated to them, and they handed it to him on the maybe so that something bad will happen and he might need to do an emergency, whatever.
Yeah.
And I get that, but it's like they might need to tighten that legislation up a little bit and say, where did we give power to the president that we shouldn't have? And
Yeah.
maybe go back through and say, let's take some of the stuff away. A lot
That,
of this, I
like I
think, falls
said,
back to
my
Congress.
ideal candidate would be someone
Yeah,
who says, "Look, I want to be president and I want to take some of my power away.
yeah,
I want the legislature to impose laws. I want them to draft and approve laws
yeah,
that take power away from me."
right. Well, and that goes to EPA legislation, like the diesel emissions and other things that are topics out there too nowadays, is that Congress has just handed the authority to set rules to the executive branch, and they're able to set corporate average fuel economy and emission standards and all that. The executive branch does that. And really, it should be them setting the rules, and then the executive branch, all the president does is he's in charge of the executive branch and he gives
Yeah.
orders to them, not to people or companies. That's how
Yeah.
I see it.
Well, and
So,
all of it is just temporary because the only thing that a
yeah,
president can do is draft EOs,
yeah,
executive orders. So and as soon as the next president comes in, they just wipe all that out and
yeah,
they start over.
yeah,
So yeah, it's not creating official laws. Nothing is going to be permanent.
yeah.
And every 4 years or 8 years, we're just going to go back and forth on all of this stuff. And,
That,
honestly, I think part of it is they're just being lazy in Congress. But I think
yes,
the even bigger issue is they don't want anything coming back on them. They don't
yeah.
want to take a hard stance and piss off part of their constituency. So they're like,
Yeah.
meh, yeah, I'm just going to let the president do it.
Well, and then going back to the tariff, so part of the whole, like you said, it's not going to last, and how companies are not going to onshore manufacturing for something that's not going to last. For
Exactly. Yeah.
advantage they have is going to vanish in 6 months.
Yeah.
That's just the whole idea is that the legislative process is slow and deliberate. It's debated. It has to have broad support to get through two houses of Congress and have a president sign it.
Hmm.
That's the right way to do the tariffs. The Congress really should take that back. And they should do the work.
Yeah.
100% agree with you on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just, that's why last year the big word everywhere was uncertainty, because companies are like, okay, I could commit to setting up a plant and starting manufacturing here, but this guy isn't going to be around forever. Not only is he not in good health, I mean, we see the massive bruises on his hands. He's got, something going on with his circulation. He's got his giant
Right.
cankles, I mean, he's clearly not in good health and almost 80 years old. So,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's just
Or he could just
inevitable.
wake up and change his mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the
That
real
too.
risk, is like he could just wake up and change his mind.
Yeah.
Eh,
But even if he doesn't, like
yeah,
we were saying,
yeah,
you're going to have another president in,
right.
another 3 years.
Yeah,
And it's like, why are companies going to put out all this money and effort for something that's just temporary?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a flawed argument.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thank you because you actually made a really great point when you were talking about the whole Renee Good thing that I hadn't even thought of. You said something to the effect of, how could she have been blocking the officers from doing their job when Jonathan Ross was able to pull his vehicle in front of her?
Yeah,
So,
he drove
yeah,
around her
they
and
all
got
could have
out.
just gone around her. Like she
Yeah,
wasn't blocking anything.
yeah. He went around and parked on an angle to block her. She had to move around
Yeah.
his car now. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah. And then he got out and circled her. So she couldn't even, he was circling her. So if she
Hmm.
would have moved, she could have hit him backing up at one
Yeah.
point. You know,
Yeah.
that was totally
Yeah.
self-induced.
Yeah. And, you know, numerous attorneys have come out and said, I could probably get him off for the first shot because, you know, you could probably convince a jury that he was concerned about his safety and she was moving forward even though she was turning the wheel. But they've all said there's no way that I could get him off for the second and
Yeah.
third shot because he was
Well,
not in any danger whatsoever.
in his own phone video, where he's standing in front of the car, you can see her shifting the
Hmm.
gears and turning the wheel
Yeah.
while he's like literally walking. He sees it because he's filming it.
Yeah.
So you see she's doing that and you walk in front of her.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, what would be your purpose for that?
Yeah.
You know, you have intent when you do that because you're like a normal human being says, well, that person is engaged with somebody on the side and she's shifting and she's steering. I'm going to get out of her way. That's the
Yeah.
normal reaction. I don't want to get hit. You know,
Well,
not
I don't
step
know
in front of her and pull
if
your
you've
gun.
heard it, but there are reports that have come out since then that show that these ICE agents and CBP agents are doing this on purpose, walking in front of vehicles on purpose,
Yeah,
so that they will have a reason to use maximum force.
yeah.
So, yeah,
It's terrible. It is 100%
yeah,
terrible, and that's why I'm here right
yeah,
now. Is that's why I'm here. I can't stomach it.
yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you speaking out. You know, I appreciate you creating your channel and doing what you can to give other
Yeah,
people some, you know, some courage to do
I
the
made that.
same.
I have a very small channel. I actually created a channel because I have a son that made one, and I had a total of 16 subscribers that were basically my kids and their friends.
Oh,
You
really?
know, and my apology video was literally targeted to them. Like when I
Oh.
first did it, I'm like, just I told because I supported it vocally to these people that some of them subscribed to my channel, and so
Mm,
I got out there in public and was saying to them is wow I messed up. It wasn't.
yeah.
So here we are. So it's just kind
Yeah.
of funny how that happened. It grew a much bigger audience than I ever imagined I would have out of that.
So did are your kids were they Trump supporters
Um,
or
well,
were,
a couple of them are, yeah.
yeah.
So, and some of them are still too young to vote. So, um, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's
It's
I've
tough. I
I've
know. I had
I've
on
I've made my I've made my feelings well known though to everybody that
yeah.
I can.
So they even after Alex Preddy and Renee Good, they still
No,
not.
no, I I've influenced some people to I've
Yeah.
I've and that's I retract. That first video is my retraction of anything I'd said previously about Donald Trump. And I've backed it up personally with personal conversations. There's anybody that'll hear me, I'm saying this guy is no good. I mean, and I have some people that
Yeah.
respect me and have listened to me.
Yeah. But like your wife and your kids, are they still supporting him or have
No,
they kind of
that's
had a
not
change of heart
not. They're off the bandwagon too.
off the Trump train?
So yeah,
Yeah.
I've probably taken up at least a dozen people with me so far
Oh, wow.
that I
Good for
that
you.
I that I know of in my local circle here in town.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well, that's
so
good. I
hopefully
had
some more out there on
interviewed,
YouTube.
oh, good. Yeah, I had interviewed a man named Ken Price who, gosh, it was months ago that he had an awakening and he made a video on TikTok and I reached out to him. He said, you know, he regretted his vote for Trump and was starting to realize all these different things. But his wife and his son are still very much strong Trump supporters. And so it's very difficult for him. So,
Yeah,
uh,
I have some friends. I have some like my work colleagues and stuff. There are still very strong Trump supporters. Um,
yeah,
so I've had some interesting conversations there also. I do actually think we need a third party, and I almost think we need a bigger majority in the future to be able to pass laws to like a 2/3 majority. I don't know.
yeah,
It's just if we can get back to some stability and maybe I don't know, a third party that doesn't, I don't know,
I don't know. I mean,
a
I
grassroots
wish that they
something.
would get rid of the filibuster for
Yeah.
sure. Because I think that personally, I think no matter what party is in charge or who is in the presidency, I think you should be able to enact your policies and your agenda, whether that be Donald Trump or Democrats, whomever that is. And the reason being is because I want people to see exactly what you stand for and exactly what you're going to do to and for the country. So people can make a choice next time with all the knowledge, so that people can live it and go, okay, yeah, I thought this was going to be good, but it sucks. And so I'm going to vote for, so yeah, exactly. And that's actually the day after the election, I did a video and I said in that video that actually it might be a silver lining. It might be a, blessing in disguise because Republicans had everything. They had the White House,
Yeah.
Senate, House, the Supreme Court. So I said, there is going to be no hiding for them. They can't possibly blame anything on the Democrats because they're in charge of everything.
Yeah.
So, my hope, which is now coming true, is that it would expose them for the empty shell of a party that they are, just sycophants for Trump
Yeah.
and riding his coattails.
It's went bad in ways I never would have imagined. That you hear them talk nice speeches, and you just can't envision this happening. So
Yeah. No, unfortunately, a lot of us saw it coming and we tried to warn everyone.
I know.
I was watching focus groups all the whole year of 2024 up through the election. And I was getting nervous. I was telling my audience, I was seeing slowly an erosion of Biden support. People like swing voters who had gone from Trump in 2020, or excuse me, 2020 to, to Biden. And then, Trump in 2016 to Biden in 2020. And I saw not all of them, but I saw enough of those people swinging back to Trump for 2024, and it was making me very nervous. And one thing that blew me away is that the moderator would always ask, like, okay, let me pose a question, kind of like what I said to you earlier, like, what if Donald Trump decides he's just not going to follow court's orders? Because, we saw what happened with the 2020 election, where he just tried to say that it was stolen and he tried to, do all kinds of nefarious and illegal things behind the scenes to steal it essentially back. And I was really dismayed. I was just beside myself hearing these people not having the imagination to go, oh yeah, he could just like give a big middle finger to the courts and just do whatever the hell he wants and be a dictator. Like it wasn't dawning on these voters that was even a possibility. They were all willing to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that he would follow court's orders and follow the Constitution, even though he said we should abolish the Constitution.
Did he say that?
Yeah.
Did he say that? I didn't. Yep. I did not catch that.
He said that during the 2024 election. Yeah.
Must have missed that one. Oh.
Yeah.
It is a good question though. What does ultimately stop somebody from doing that? That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question.
Like I said, I think the framers were brilliant. They thought of so many things that I would have never thought of, but it just goes to show they didn't think of everything because they were just in their minds, they just assumed like, oh no, people would never elect someone who has these authoritarian ideas and wants to be a dictator and control the world and to invade all these other countries.
Yeah, Yeah. Again, short of Congress doing something, I don't know what the recourse would be. I mean, that's, you know,
Yeah.
they would have to eject somebody from office and maybe two people from office. You might have to go through Vance too and get the Speaker of the House. I
Yeah.
don't know what it would take to make that happen, but yeah,
I know.
with Congress does not willing to act, I don't know what your recourse is. That's a good question.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, short of an uprising by the people, and that may be why the only thing that holds him
Yeah,
in check, the fact that
that's
he knows that so many of us have weapons,
yeah.
and
Well,
you know, and we're not willing to allow our democracy to go down the drain.
I am glad this has brought some value back to the Second Amendment. So it's not as arcane as people think. You know,
Yeah.
I grew up as a sportsman and gun owner, and I've been a concealed carry holder, and you know, I'm a gun rights advocate, and
Yeah. Yeah, and
I'm
that's
glad
the
it's
other thing I think the
yeah,
right gets wrong about the left is that and I've said this to people before, is that I think the biggest mistake the right will make if they try to start a civil war is thinking that we on the left don't own or like guns. Because
yeah. Well,
I know my husband has so many guns, we could
yeah.
outfit a small army. So,
Most, and I'm gonna say, most people are not looking to start a war. Most of us are just going to work every day,
mhm,
and get up, live our lives, raise our kids, go to work every day. Go to sporting events, do stuff. We're not. This is
yeah,
not what we want. We don't want to live in this world. We just, we make a choice, and we hope for better things than we're seeing.
yeah,
None of us want war. I'm very few people I'm sure want war.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's been done before, and that's ugly.
yeah. I
That's
agree. I agree. And yeah, I think you know, I think most people on the left and even a lot on the right nowadays are like, we just need common sense. We just need laws with guns that make sense, that aren't restrictive, but that keep everyone safe. And I grew up in a household full of guns. We had an entire gun cabinet that took up an entire wall of a very large room. And my dad used to go shooting, hunting. Um, Unfortunately, he was a little psycho. So for that reason, not a little psycho, he was a lot psycho. But for that reason, I am for red flag laws because growing up, he was very abusive towards my mother. He, he was very verbally abusive towards me, physically abusive towards my older brother. And he would threaten us that he was going to shoot us in the middle of the night, that he was going to come in and, his famous words were, it's going to be a bloodbath tonight. So
wow.
you don't sleep very well at night when you're a child, and that's what your dad is telling you.
No,
And we had called the police on him many times. He got taken away in 5150s a couple times. Would come back more pissed off than before. And so someone like him should not have a gun. Like if you're abusing your family, you're a danger. At one point, he even knocked my grandmother over trying to get to me, broke her tailbone. Um, so,
was
yeah,
he
I
ever
mean,
was he ever charged with anything, or is it just all
no,
just dismissed?
yeah, unfortunately, no. And, part of it was my mom would back down because she knew it was going to get worse. So,
Yeah,
the couple of times they took him away was typically because I called 911. But yeah, it just,
that's
he should have never had guns. And so people like that should not be allowed to have guns. But
yeah, that's tough.
yeah,
Yeah, I've unfortunately never have lived in a situation like that,
yeah,
so I feel fortunate. I know people that
yeah,
have lived in bad situations, so that is one bad situation there. Wow.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, it made me who I am. So it
Yeah.
created me
Well,
for this moment, I think.
fortunately, I guess it was talk. I guess that's the good news. So,
Yeah, I
oof,
mean,
yeah,
yeah,
not good talk. I'm not
he
condoning it anyway. But,
yeah, I mean, he
mm,
was physically, physically abused my mom, beat her many times,
that's,
choked her, would kick her when she was down on the ground. I mean, I had to step in and save her. One time in
yeah.
particular, I almost ran him over trying to get her out of there. So,
Wow. And
but
you would think with witnesses that would be chargeable, and that's the part that um is hard to wrestle with. Wasn't there,
yeah.
obviously. I don't know, but it's just like, wow, it's hard to believe that that could happen and somebody now be charged with a crime.
Yeah, the
Because
laws were very different back then.
yeah, yeah,
Nowadays it's like if they see a woman with marks on her throat, they,
yeah,
will take the man away or
yeah,
and charge him regardless of what she wants.
yeah.
But back then it was like, no, unless she's willing and she wants to press charges, then, we're just going to let it go. So I mean, I
Well,
begged the police to take me one time. I told them I was going to kill myself if they, didn't help me and take me. And they basically just blew me off. My grandmother
wow,
told him, oh, she just gets emotional and she's just,
wow,
it was just verbal altercation. It was just a lot of yelling and it just scares her. And she talked him out of it. And so they left. Oh,
wow.
yeah.
That's yeah, wow,
Yeah. But like I said, for that reason and so many others, I mean, there's just so many men who kill their spouses with guns, and there were signs, there's past abuse. You know, it's not like you don't know that this person is dangerous. And
hmm,
it's not just men and it's not just a spouse, it can be anybody, but that's personally why I'm for red flag laws. I just think that if you are a danger to yourself or someone else, then why are we giving you a gun? So, but
yeah. There should be
if you're
some.
a law-abiding citizen, then why can't you have a
I
gun?
I think by the third or fourth police contact, there should be something kicking in to say, hey, maybe we need to look harder here. But I would think, but something, that, it's I don't know.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So,
There's a lot of things that are hard. There's no easy solution to a lot of the world's problems. That's for sure.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and two, my husband is a big gun enthusiast, and a lot of times he'll look at the laws that they're putting together with guns, and he just rolls his eyes because like they're making this law so that you can't buy XYZ, but you can literally do that at home. You can manufacture that at home. You can make
yeah,
this into a gun that does that with this or that or the other. Like so I just think our lawmakers are so out of their depth sometimes. They just don't even know what the hell they're talking about. It's like when you
yeah,
had, if you saw that, there was a congressional hearing. I want to say it's like 2 years ago or so now. I think it was under the Biden administration. And you had all of these old lawmakers trying to talk about social media. And the things they were saying were just comical. They're,
yeah,
oh, well, why when I Google this doesn't come up? And it's like, because you're on Facebook. It's like they just don't understand.
yeah, yeah. You clicked the wrong icon. Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Wow.
It's like that's an app. That's a
Yeah,
specific website.
yeah,
This isn't Google. Yeah, just I can't remember all the things that they were saying, but it was just laughable because they clearly had no idea what they were talking about.
yeah.
Uh,
It's
oh,
tricky to, red flag laws are tricky because then you got to really be careful how you define what triggers the flags, and it takes care,
yeah,
and to make sure that's not is reasonable. It's got to be reasonable. That's when to
yeah.
restrict somebody's rights. There should be cause to restrict anybody's rights. That's just like the same with with the ICE thing. There should be cause, and it
Mm-hmm.
should be verified, and it should be clear, and
Yeah.
it, so if you're going to restrict somebody's right, there should be a clear cause. And that's the
Yeah.
tricky part, is making sure it's written so that there is clear defensible cause for the action, why you're restricting somebody's rights.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. I mean, if you're in a verbal altercation, you're yelling at each other and the neighbors call the cops, that I don't think warrants it. But if you're
or even
beating
one
the hell out of
person's.
your
Yeah,
significant other,
yeah. I mean,
you
if you're,
know,
yeah, like I said, if you get 3 or 4 police calls on you, there's probably a theme going there.
yeah,
No matter what
yeah,
anybody says, if the cops are coming on a regular basis, they're probably
right.
there's something to be looked at there.
Yeah, and
And
especially if
yeah,
there's like a history of substance abuse on top of
right,
it,
yeah.
I mean, because that is just huge recipe for disaster. I mean,
But
I don't know if you,
you also have to make it where people can't just make false accusations and restrict somebody else's rights because
yeah.
they want to.
Oh,
That's the
absolutely.
that's the danger.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. No, I
So,
definitely agree. Like, I don't know if you heard about that story down in Texas where the dad killed his daughter recently. They had
yeah,
gotten into a fight about Trump
yeah,
and he pulled out a gun and shot her. Now, nobody was in the room when it happened. He's saying it's an accident. He had been drinking heavily. He has a history of substance abuse. So,
yeah. Drinking is no excuse. That's for sure.
yeah,
There's no excuse. I mean, if you're
yeah,
a gun owner responsible, you never point a gun at something you don't want to shoot. That's
yeah.
the first rule of gun safety, is you never point the barrel at something you don't want to shoot.
Yeah. Well,
And it doesn't
I don't want
matter
guns
what
in the hands of anybody who's
yeah,
intoxicated.
yeah.
It's just
No,
like,
I agree.
yeah,
Yeah,
just go get sober and then you can have your gun. But
yeah.
yeah,
I don't know.
so
Yeesh.
uh, well, anyway, I take it you're not going to be watching Trump's State of the Union tonight.
No, no, I can't. I literally I feel hearing him just grinds me right now. It's got I just hearing his
Yeah,
voice grinds me right now. I feel very, like you said, you lie to me and you mislead me, and I have that
yeah,
reaction just happens inside me when I see him and hear him, now that I can't control it. I
yeah,
just don't want to look at him or hear him. I want him gone. I really do. I just want him gone. That's what
yeah,
I want right now. He's betrayed me, and I want him gone. That's
yeah,
how I feel about it.
yeah. Now you know how those of us on the left have felt for 10 years.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
And again,
like we hear his voice and we're like, ah,
I
like,
get it. I get it now. I do. I was
uh,
never a huge fan of his. Like I said, he's always lived a different life, and I never could relate to him. And he's been rewarded handsomely for things I don't think he should have been rewarded for. But now I just can't even stand to listen to him. So,
yeah.
and I get it 100%.
Yeah, I had some PTSD after Biden took office where they would, I would hear on the news, oh, the president today. And I would immediately like get this anxiety and my shoulders would go up and I'm like, and then I would realize, oh, yeah, it's not Trump. He's gone.
Yeah, I can relate to that now. Yeah, I can relate. Yeah,
Yeah, it took me a few months for that to go away. Like my immediate reaction was like my anxiety would just shoot through the roof. Oh boy. Well, one way or another, we will get out of this. As Gloria Gaynor said, we will survive.
well, I literally hope the Republicans lose bad in November, and I hope that at least gets, maybe some impeachment can happen. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just something.
Well, I definitely think the House will impeach him, but
The Senate. Yeah,
we need 67 votes in the Senate to convict and remove, and that's like
it
that's a
should be there.
stretch.
I think it should be there, but
Yeah.
yeah,
And who knows? Maybe if the midterms go bad enough for the Republicans,
yeah,
that is my hope that just
yeah,
out of self-preservation and their greed and selfishness alone that they will go, okay, we got to cut this guy loose. He's an anchor around our ankles. He's taken us down with us, you know, like the Titanic. So
that's exactly why I'm telling everybody I know not to vote for Republicans. Just November's important, I think, just for that reason. There needs to be a clear message that that this has to stop. It has to be clear, like a clear beating, like a serious ass whooping. I mean,
that is the only hope. That truly is the only hope, is that a clear message is sent to them and they wake up. Without that, I don't have much hope. That's why, you know, my audience will say, oh, why do you keep telling us about polls? You know, polls don't matter. And it's like, no, they do, because that's the only thing that's going to get us out of this. That's the only thing that's going to change the Republicans' minds and potentially get them on board with a removal. So
a strong midterm result will be huge.
No, I'm crossing every body part.
I'm with you. I wasn't in 2024, but I am now. I'm with you. I'm with you.
If I could split my tongue in half and cross it, I would. Well, I really appreciate you getting on with me tonight and being so honest about things and having a, you know, discussion even with tough topics. I think it shows people that we can have these conversations and we don't have to hate each other and battle, and, you know, we can even continue to have a difference of opinions on things, and it's okay. It's like we're all adults, and it's healthy for people to, you know, not be homogenous. And
well, the world needs it. Diversity of opinion is important. You know, if everybody has the same idea, it could all be the wrong idea. So you know, the world needs a
it's like
healthy
that
debate.
show. Have you seen the show? What's it called? Pluribus?
I have not.
Oh, it's so good. You got to see it. I think it's on. Is it on Hulu? It's either on Hulu or Apple, but it has the actress that was in Better Call Saul, the one that was his girlfriend or his wife, the blonde. Anyway, it's basically, long story short, it's this, I don't know if it's a mind virus or if it's like aliens. I can't remember from the first episode, but basically they take over everybody's mind on Earth. And so everyone is of one mind. So everyone thinks the same things. Everyone like knows what everyone else is thinking and doing. And like it seems idyllic because everybody's kind and there's no violence and there's, you know, no rape, and, you know, people are all coming together and working as one and working towards common goals. But there's like, I think it's about a dozen people who didn't like get infected with this, and they don't know, they haven't revealed why yet. But these people are like, you know, some of them are fighting against it. Like, no, I want to have my own thoughts and my own opinions and, you know, not be part of this hive mind. I'm like, yeah, that would be me. Be like, no. I mean, just even think about, like, if everybody knows what you're doing at all times, we would know when Donald Trump was having sex. That for that reason alone.
I wouldn't even have
no.
No. Wow.
We would know when he's with Stormy Daniels.
Wow.
But yeah, no.
Pluribus was the name?
Pluribus, yeah, it's really good. Really good. Yeah, it's only, I think, is only the first 1 or 2 seasons have come out yet. So, but I'm like dying to see like the next one. It's supposed to be coming out later this year. So, but yeah, definitely we don't want that.
No, especially not with your example. No.
See, See, now you're going to be thinking about that.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna clear my head after that one.
Uh, well, it was really good to meet you,
Yes.
Henry. I
Yes.
so appreciate your time, and I know you had a long day at work, so appreciate
Yeah.
you getting on here and taking what little energy you have left.
Well, this isn't hard. Just sit down and talk. It's fine.
Yeah,
I'm good.
I'm sure, you know, you can be with your family and doing other
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, my wife
And
is texting me, says, "How long is this gonna be?" I don't know. She wasn't home
yeah.
when we started, so
Oh, is she back now? Oh,
yeah, she's
okay.
bagged out. She's like, "You still how long are you gonna be?" I don't know. I took my
Well,
son's room over. This is my son's room, so I kicked him out and borrowed his room to be quiet.
oh,
So,
all right. Well, tell her I'm sorry for keeping you so long.
all right,
So, yeah, but
she'll
I
be good.
appreciate it. And yeah,
Yeah.
if you ever want
Hey,
to get together and talk again, let me know. Happy to do
yeah.
it.
No, this is good. I enjoy this. It's good. It's good. You gave me some food for thought on a couple things there. So
Oh, good.
I like being challenged. You know, I like a good discussion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Me too. Me too. That's like I said, that's why I like breaking points
yeah,
because Sagar, the conservative, sometimes he'll say things I'm like, you know, it isn't my initial feeling. It isn't, you know, something that's normal to me, but I'm like, yeah, he's kind of making a good point there, you know?
yeah.
So yeah,
All right.
we can't be afraid of differences.
No, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, it's been good. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
for
you
having me.
too. Thank you so much. So we will keep in touch, hopefully. If you would like to follow Henry, if you want to check out his content and see the videos that he's put out so far, you can find him at the Gab Father, and that is on YouTube. And then, are you anywhere else?
No, just on YouTube. This is new to me. I'm still new.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see what this does. Who knows? Maybe I'll do.
Okay.
I already got a couple more videos filmed. I just haven't posted them yet. So I'm like, well, just
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know. Things are evolving, you know, and I've
Yeah.
you recorded a couple of things, and I'm like, let this age a little before I release.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Make
yeah,
sure, make
yeah,
sure you want to put them out.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm new. I'm learning.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Well,
all right,
hopefully you'll pick up some new subscribers when this comes out. And then
yeah.
be sure to check out a video I put up yesterday about a Trump voter that made a diss track.
I
I
actually
don't know if you
watched
saw
that
that.
this
Oh,
this
did you see it?
afternoon. I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah, it was good, huh?
yeah, yeah. It was yeah, it
Yeah,
was. I don't know. I was curious if that was AI myself or if it was a
I
lot of
think it
AI is good.
was. Yeah.
AI has got some good music nowadays, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. There's
scary.
some fake AI artists that have some good songs out.
Yeah,
It's kind of scary what it's doing to the world.
yeah. If I was a musician, I'd be worried right now.
Yeah.
I would, because you
Yeah, I
can make
know.
them say anything you want to say.
I
So
know.
that's
Yeah, it's
yeah,
a scary thing.
yeah. I did enjoy that video. I feel some of what he's saying. I wouldn't use the same words, but um,
Yeah.
I definitely I could share the sentiment for sure.
Yeah,
A
I
lot of it.
figured.
Okay.
All right. Well, you have a good night.
All right.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
rest of your week, and we'll definitely keep in touch.
All right. Sounds good.
All
Thank you.
right. Thanks, Henry.
Bye.
Take care.